Black Op Radio presents 50 Reasons for 50 Years. Why the Warren Commission may be the greatest fraud perpetrated on the American public. Now your host, Len Osanic.
Shots have just rang out in Dealey Plaza. An alert policeman in the motorcade stops his motorcycle and runs up to the source of the shots with his revolver drawn. Police come across the suspect, but this man holds up Secret Service identification, then disappears into the crowd that had assembled, all searching for the shooters. The Warren Commission revealed this did happen as a fact with Officer Joseph Smith's testimony, but then goes on to say there was no Secret Service in the grassy knoll and leave it as a mystery. Longtime critic of the Warren Commission, author and lawyer Mark Lane, in his new book, goes into the details of just who was in charge of Secret Service credentials and identification for presidential protection. In 1963, it was the CIA, and the Warren Commission didn't want anyone to discover that fact.
This is Mark Lane. I'm a defense lawyer. I've been a defense lawyer for 60 years. And so the first thing I saw when I saw the Kennedy assassination, saw Oswald, was, did he do it? How would I defend him, etc.? And so Rush to Judgment, my first book on the subject, really dealt with that question, and I've been dealing with that for many years. More recently, I said, I want to look at this from a different perspective, and that is, what did the assassin or assassins, what were their problems? I want to look at it from their viewpoint, just to see how they would overcome difficulties. Well, in my view, and I've written about it and talked about it, the CIA was involved in killing President Kennedy. I accept that as the starting point. What would the CIA have to do to kill the president? The first thing is, he's protected by the Secret Service. So how do we deal with them? Well, first of all, the CIA provided all of the credentials for every member of the Secret Service. So they knew where each person was. Whether they worked for the CIA at that point, we don't know, but we do know that the CIA knew where they were because they provided credentials. And when the guy came from behind the wooden fence after the assassination and was stopped by a Dallas police officer, he held up his credentials to show, because the Dallas police officer, Smith, thought that he had caught the assassin, and I think he had, one of them, because the shots came from there, and the guy held up credentials from the United States Secret Service. Nobody knew at that time that those credentials had been prepared and issued by the CIA, the same group that killed the president. The other members of the Secret Service, let's take a look at them. William R. Greer was driving the car. To his right was R.H. Kellerman, and what was his job? He's practiced this many times. When the first sound you hear, even if it's a firecracker, step on the accelerator and get out of there. In fact, he testified that our car's specially built. You step on the gas, it's like you're leaping to another planet. You just roar right out of there. After the first shot was fired, he slowed down. How slowly did he go? Clint Hill was in a follow-up car. Now, Clint Hill was not part of the Kennedy detail, so he never got a memo about what we're doing that day. Clint Hill was there because he was supporting and protecting Jacqueline Kennedy, had done for years. Wherever she went to Europe, he was with her. That was his assignment, Jacqueline Kennedy. He was not part of the John Kennedy detail. When he heard the first shot, he jumped off the follow-up car, which was supposed to be speeding away, and they testified before the Warren Commission that they were speeding away. Clint Hill was wearing leather soles, and he ran and reached the car. How fast was the car going? Well, it was going 15 miles an hour, then Clint Hill's a world-class sprinter while wearing leather-soled shoes. So that's how it begins. How did Hill catch the speeding limousine? We're going to hear now about the magic sprinter theory. And why did Kellerman, who was to the right of the driver of the limousine, not seek to cover Kennedy's body with his own, which was his only job? In the passenger seat, front passenger seat. That was his only assignment. He never moved. Didn't seem surprised when he heard you'd see there's a good of him. and you read the testimony. He didn't even seem surprised when he heard the shot. And what about the other 6 Secret Service agents in the follow-up car? With the exception of Hill, who was not assigned to protect the president, they did nothing. Hill never got a memo because he wasn't assigned to John Kennedy. After the Kennedy assassination, the phrase credibility gap became a prominent phrase in America. And it merely means, it's a polite way of saying, we believe the government's lying to us. There's a credibility gap between what the government says and what we believe. Well, when the Warren Commission was appointed, J. Lee Rankin, the general counsel of the Warren Commission, was interviewed by the New York Times. And they asked him what his assignment was, and he said to reassure the American people that all is well. That was the whole story, because that was the role of the Warren Commission. Our job was to reassure the American people. But it wasn't their job. Their job was to tell the American people the truth. See, I believe the American people can deal with the truth. I believe people everywhere in the world can deal with the truth. What they cannot deal with is their government lying to them.
Stay tuned for the next installment as we expose week after week 50 lies the Warren Commission would like you to believe.